I'm sorry I didn't have the chance to meet with you this morning as we had in the past. Texas, if we have a little cold weather, it shuts everything down. I think that the public schools, including ACC, used an abundance of caution, I think is the correct word, in terms of not holding class until 10 o'clock. I did miss seeing you, so I wanted to talk to you before you get away on Saturday. I look forward to seeing you this evening at the dinner. But basically, what I wanted to do was to cover a couple of things and to give you some additional slides for you to use in your presentation. I don't think consumer behavior would be complete without talking about the consumer and the decision-making process. So the last part of our presentation was really going over the concepts of how do people make decisions. What is the concept that they're doing? Talking briefly about the decision of the government to shut down and our management administration to shut down the schools. You may or may not know about the situation in Atlanta and in Georgia. But basically, a few days ago, they had a snowstorm in Atlanta. The government, including the governor, did not heed the warnings of the meteorologist that it was going to snow 2-3 inches, and they kept the schools open. The children got on the buses, the snow started, and the children were trapped in buses. And you might imagine that the parents were not happy with the government. And now the governor has had to answer a lot of questions of why he didn't issue an emergency warning and shut down some of the schools and some of the other things. I also thought I'd wear my Texas hat today to give you a little bit of the Texas culture. Forgive me for wearing a hat inside. It's not considered to be polite, but I thought it might add some cultural influence to our session today. Talking about the decision-making process, what we've covered are some of the influences, and what we do in marketing is always listen to the voice of the consumer. And we talked about the impact of the consumer decision-making process coming from both external, and those were cultural, subcultural, demographic situations, family, etc. Some internal, which we did not cover, which is a little deeper psychology of marketing, which includes perception, learning, memory, motives, personality, and emotions, in order for us to determine what is the decision-making process and how do we talk to the consumer in order to allow them or to ask them to buy our products. How do we really understand from the consumer perspective what they want and how do we do? We start by listening. And it's not easy always to be a good listener because we have a preconceived idea of what people want and what they should want based on our own ideology, and we can't do that in marketing. We really have to be a good listener. But once we determine the target market that we're going after, we segmented the market, remember, and we go after the specific target market, which gives us the greatest opportunity for success within the market system based on our products or services. And we always keep in mind that we're designing products, price, place, and promotion, how we communicate with the consumer, based on the consumer's ideology, who they are. And we have to understand who these people are in order to make a decision. So that's why we study consumer behavior. Now, the next steps we do are to try to determine the decision-making process. Why do people make a decision to buy our product, someone else's product? Sometimes it's an easy decision. We've bought the same product over the years and it's repetitive, so we don't have to think about it. In other cases, we have to deal with what's called situational. We make decisions as a consumer based on a lot of different things, based on the temporal, sight, sound, smells, feel, touch, the atmosphere of the store, or basically how the product looks to us or how we think it's going to look. So we're going to not talk, but I'm going to give you some info that relates to the decision-making process. concerning the situations. And what I'll do in the PowerPoints that I give you is give you a chance just to review briefly. I don't want it to be too boring for you because this is all detailed stuff, but it's very important for you to understand the psychology of purchasing and marketing and buying and how people make these decisions. So we'll first talk about situations. Then we go to the concept of what we call problem recognition. Now this is the need of the consumer. This is how we determine what is the want or what is the need of the consumer and how do we satisfy that need. And we did that by listening. We want to know what is the consumer thinking, what does the consumer want, and we try to fulfill the need of the consumer by listening to the consumer and then working to satisfy the need. So we have to, from a consumer standpoint, get them to recognize they have a problem. They're thirsty, they're hungry, they have a transportation need. Some of the different needs we have are built up in the hierarchy of needs presented by Maslow and some of the other psychologists, and we have to satisfy the basic needs first, and then we move up into that hierarchy or that pyramid of needs from each of the consumer standpoint. So we get the consumer to recognize that they have a problem. And sometimes the consumer doesn't know that he or she has a problem. So we help them by telling them through advertising, through promotions, through communications, that there is a problem and we're here to help them solve their problem. Once they recognize they have a need or a problem, they're going to go for what we call an information search. Now, most information searches today are done two ways. Number one, internal. We already have some information. We already have knowledge in our memory bank of what types of products, what the situation is. So we look internally first. But if we don't have a good recognition of the different types of products to satisfy the need, we might do a secondary or an exterior information search. A lot of that today is done by the internet. A lot of the purchases start by internet search. We look for information. We look for sources of the products through the internet, but we don't always buy there. In fact, what we talked a little bit about is that the purchases off the internet today only represents, in the U.S. market, only represents about 14% of the total retail. Trillions of dollars of purchases at the retail level are done on the internet. That's expected to grow by 2020, but only to about 20%. So 80 to 86% of all purchases are still done by going to a store, physically finding the product, picking it up and buying it and taking it with us. This satisfies the immediate need of the American consumer. We want to be immediately gratified. We call that immediate gratification in the U.S. markets. We want to be able to take it with us. We don't want to wait on something else. So we like it, we find it, we buy it, we take it, we use it. So once the information search is done, we as a consumer, we're looking at the different products that satisfy the different criteria that we've set for the type of product or service that we're looking for, and we set what we call a consideration set. We use the different products or brands that are on the market in order to form an alternative evaluation and selection. Normally there are multiple. There in many cases there may be products that 10, 20, 100 or more products that might satisfy some level of the need, but there's only a certain few that satisfy all of our specifications. So this can be done very quickly, or with more expensive capital purchases, it may take a little more time. So in the alternative selection process, our job as marketers are to get our products included in that, what we call the consideration set. If we're not included in the 2-3 products that a consumer is looking at for a final decision, we won't be successful. So it's very, very important that we satisfy the needs and the alternatives that the consumer is looking for in order to be included in the consideration set. Once the customer has determined the different products that he or she are looking at, what they'll do is they'll make a decision. Sometimes the decision is made basically on the product. Sometimes it's made on the convenience of time. And sometimes it's on the outlet where we buy it. You've been to several different stores. You went to an outlet store and bought some products. You've been to the domain and seen some high-end stores like Apple Store, etc. So basically what we're trying to do is there's some reasons why we choose where we buy and the products we buy based on the needs of the consumer and it's satisfying the needs. Sometimes that's not even something we totally understand, but it's basically what the consumer wants. They like the atmosphere. They like the situation. It gives them a very good feeling or experience that on the place where they're buying. That's why we go to Starbucks, because of the atmosphere. We pay a lot of money for a coffee, but we like being there. It's a good situation. It makes us feel good. So the outlet selection and the purchase are very, very important. So as a manufacturing company, we want to select outlets or distribution channels which fit the need of our target consumer. So once we've done all of this and the consumer makes the decision, they're going to make a purchase. Now, after the purchase, it's extremely important from a marketing standpoint that we don't just stop. What we want to do at that point is do what's called post-purchase processes. After the purchase, we want to let the consumer know they made a good decision. We want to thank them for the purchase. We want to entice them to continue doing business with us. Now, in simple products like everyday convenience items, toothpaste, soft drinks, etc., it's very hard to do that because we don't have enough money in the profitability of those products to make direct contact. So we do it through advertising and promotion to say you made a good choice. But let's say we bought a computer, or let's say we bought a car. And in that case, we want to do a follow-up. We want to have a direct contact with our customer because in the long run, the success of marketing stems on repeat business and also word of mouth. We want to get them to tell their friends, to blog about us, to put us on social network because they're doing a lot of the promotional work for us. So in the concept of marketing, what we're doing, listening, paying attention, trying to satisfy the needs of the consumer, putting the purchase, the products, the prices, the place, and the promotion in a way that would best fit our target market, and then doing the follow-up with the consumer to make sure they come back. Now, you've been our consumer. All of the professors who've been working with you for these last 10 days, we know it's been a long process for you. You've been away from home, but I hope you've had a wonderful experience in the U.S. You're always welcome to come back. I think you've met some really nice people, and getting to know many of you as I have just over the last few days, I can only hope that I can get a chance to hear from you and to see you again at some point. So the best of luck. I will see you at the dinner this evening, and I look forward to seeing your progress as marketers. So thank you and have a great day.